Welcome to the U.S. Kiss Vinyl Reference YouTube channel. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the U.S. Kiss Vinyl Reference. I'm Mike Stone, your host, as always. And, so I forgot to film an episode. My bad. So, anyway, today we're going to talk about the, it's basically my top 10, my favorite pieces that I have in my collection, my 10 favorite, whether it be because I hunted them real hard or they're just special to me one way or the other. That's what the meat and potatoes of today is going to be. So, if that's something you're interested in hearing, even though I think everything here I've held up at some point or another. So, anyway, if that's something you feel like sticking around for, then I'll see you in a minute. All right, folks, welcome back. As I said, this is going to be a Mike's top 10, so to speak. Just my 10 favorite pieces that I have in my collection, whether it's something that I looked real hard for or just something that has a special meaning to me in one way or the other. Excuse me. So, the last couple of weekends have been a little busy for me. I had recorded the 2 Record Club episodes back to back because I knew that those 2 weekends I was going to be pretty busy. So, the first weekend, which would have been the weekend that my first Record Club episode dropped, I was actually up in St. Louis. Our buddy John Humphrey, who was on a few weeks back, had invited me to come and see a Seether show while they was out on the road. They're still out. They've got a couple of shows left, but he told me just to let him know which show I could come to, and he would put me on the guest list, so to speak. So I looked at the dates, and I decided on St. Louis. Both of my parents live up in St. Louis. Actually, the venue was, within 10 minutes from my dad's house. I mean, after the show was over, I was probably back at Dad's before they even took off on the bus. So, but it was let's see, Royal Lynn started the show, and then a guy named Tim Montana went on, and then a band called Skillet, which I had heard of but never really paid attention to, and then Seether was last. And for the first 3 bands, they all won me over. I mean, I was there to see Seether for sure, but, the other 3 bands were a bonus. So, anyway, I got to hang out and talk to John before the show started a little bit, as you can see here. The sun was in both of our faces, but we decided to get a picture without the sun behind us, so you take one with the other. So he came out and met my wife, and we talked to each other for 45 minutes or so, a long time. And then once we heard the Royal Lynn's band start the show, John went on backstage. We got in our seats, and several hours later, it was a good concert altogether. So really, really appreciative to John for inviting me out like that. That was mighty, mighty neat of him. And then we came back home, and then the next weekend, the wife and I were deciding on what to do on a Friday. Yeah, on a Friday. And there's this little dessert shop in a little town called Neosho, Missouri, close by. She always goes to this dessert shop, and I'm diabetic, so, dessert shops really don't mean anything to me anymore. But I remember we parked the truck, and I said, you know what, I'll go in this time, just to see what it is. So we was walking towards this dessert shop, and the building next to it, that had some flyers in the window, and I seen the words Craig Goldie, which for those of you that might not know, Craig Goldie played guitar in Jafria in the 80s, and then he played with Dio off and on. And truth be told, Craig is one of my favorite Dio guitarists. I mean, it's like Ritchie Blackmore, Craig Goldie, and then Viv. So anyway, the flyer was advertising a guitar clinic that Craig was putting on at a little guitar shop in Neosho, which was a couple 100 feet away from this dessert place. And I seen it, and I was like, it's probably on a day where I can't make it. And I looked, and it was that day, just a few hours away. So we went into the dessert shop, got a few things, and then before we went back to the truck, we walked over to the guitar shop, and I asked, hey, about how long is this thing? Because we had kind of made plans to go somewhere and eat, like away from Neosho, and a couple of other errands. And I asked about it, and they say, it's a couple hours long, and he's urging people to bring their guitars and everything. And I was like, I'll come back for that, because it was like 2, 3, 4 hours away. So I was kind of wrestling with it. I was like, well, we made these plans to go eat somewhere. She's like, no, you should definitely go see this. I mean, what are the odds of somebody like this passing through Neosho very often? So she had a good point, and so we stopped somewhere in town, got something to eat, and then we came back to the house. And then I grabbed one of my guitars, and we ate at the house and chilled out for a little bit, and then I came back up and went to this clinic, and it was real neat. Craig was just kind of talking about songwriting stuff and playing a little bit. And then there was a bass player and a drummer with him that were local to Neosho. And he said, we're gonna play like a simple A minor progression just over and over and over again, almost like a loop. He said, and we're gonna invite some of you all to come up and play, So, like, he would solo while somebody was coming up the stage to getting plugged in and everything. And then that person would take over, and Craig would play rhythm. And I had no idea that any of that was going to take place. I just brought my guitar with me to kind of play along with him as he was kind of showing stuff. And it was a total crapshoot that I actually grabbed one that was tuned right. But anyway, and the guy that put on the event, from the stage, he looked at me, he said, do you want to play? I was like, yeah, sure, why not, So I brought my guitar up there. We plugged in and I played. I had no idea what I was going to play. Can't remember what I played. I know he just pointed at me and said go, and I went. So that was a pretty neat experience. And then afterwards, he talked to everybody there for, I mean, I left, I don't know, probably 10:30, and he was still talking, but he took some pictures with us. You know, I got several pictures with him, actually. They just kind of took a whole bunch of them for me on my phone, and then he signed a picture for me. He gave me his email and his phone number. That was kind of part of his clinic, you know. Any kind of, you know, if you get in a jam with songwriting, or, you know, if you want to learn this or that, or if you want to get any advice about this situation or that situation, you know, email or call him. And I went on my way. So that was a pretty cool experience. I'd never done a guitar clinic or anything like that before. So, but yeah, that's where I've been for the last couple of weeks. So it was pretty neat getting to meet and hang out with John before he played a show. And then the next weekend I'm hanging out with Craig Goldie, you know. Kind of makes me feel like I'm living large a little bit, but forgot where I was going with that comment. But yeah, I've got pictures of me with John. I've got some less than professional pictures of the guys on stage that I probably ain't going to throw up here because they're kind of crappy. But yeah, I took very little video. I just stood there and took the whole show in, which usually I try to do, but sometimes, like if I know that one of my favorite songs is coming, I'll hold my phone up and record it, but I didn't do that this time around. I just took it all in. But like I said, I was impressed with Royal Lynn. I was impressed with Tim Montana. I was really impressed with Skillet. You know, I had heard of them, but and come to find out, I have heard a few of their songs, but I just wasn't familiar. But they won me over pretty good. And then, yeah, as they was changing between Skillet and Seether Set, you know, I was sitting there thumbing around on Facebook, as you do, and then a little message popped up, and it was John telling me to enjoy the show, and then they was about to come on, so that was pretty neat. And then, yeah, the next weekend at the guitar clinic, and then here in a couple of weekends, me and a couple of buddies of mine from down south of me, we're going to head into Tulsa and catch Yngwie Malmsteen. I'm Southern. I can't say his last name right. Sorry. But that was kind of thrown into my lap a few weeks ago. He asked one of my buddies asked if I wanted to go. I was like, yeah, sure, you know. He said, hey, I've got free tickets, man. Just show up at the house and we'll go. So, you know, I admit that I'm not like a huge fan of Yngwie, but I totally respect his playing style and everything, and I would like to see that with my own two eyes just once, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna go check that out here in a couple of weeks. So that's where I've been. Oh, and continuing with the tradition of showing stuff as it comes in, I missed out on the pre-order, and a buddy of mine was kind enough to grab a spare for me before they sold out. And I still have a few others that are not necessarily coming to me yet, but I've got them set aside by other people because I'm not in a place where I can catch pre-orders as they happen now. So luckily I've got some buddies that are looking out for me. But I was able to get this one in. This is the limited picture disc of Animalize. So the cover, you know, you've probably heard it's like a fake fur cover, and it's textured. It almost feels like a canvas that you paint on. It's what it reminds me of. And then the back is kind of a almost a rubbery feeling. I forget the material they call that. I know that there's a book out. I forget the author, but I want to say it kind of centers around Destroyer. That's kind of got this feel to it. And it's numbered. Mine's number 296. And so I don't know if you watched my unboxing video of the debut 50th anniversary. I had said something about the resealable sleeve that it came in. So like this, or like the debut one, this one wasn't sealed. It's in a resealable sleeve, but it's got that glue strip on the flap, and I hate these. I hate them with a passion, because you go to pull your record out, your record gets stuck on that flap, and then, yeah, you just fucked up your record. So I was able to lift the hype sticker off of the resealable sleeve, and yeah, this thing's just trash. So. But anyway, this picture disc of Animalize came with a fold-out poster that's really, really glossy. And it's also two-sided. And yeah, I haven't got the scans up on my Facebook page yet, and I have not got the pictures up on my Instagram page yet because, well, Mike's just been lazy. And then the inner sleeve is a little different from what we know, so they kind of put a little splash of coloring to the pictures instead of being just black and white. And now the lyric side of the inner sleeve's all yellow now instead of just white. And then we get to the disc. So on side A, we've got the 4 pictures from the inner sleeve. And then on side B, we get the album cover. So, admittedly, Animalize is not my favorite Kiss album. I mean, it's probably actually pretty close to the bottom for me. But I'm glad to get the reissues when I can, and having buddies like Tony Chambers and Steve Allen that kind of keep an eye out for me while I miss all this stuff firsthand. It's a blessing to have friends like that. So, you know, I appreciate the hell out of them two and other friends that I've had along the way that's helped me out with stuff. I can't appreciate them enough. So, even though with Steve, I might bust his ass a little bit here and there, but we all love each other. So, yes, Animalized picture disc. I do have the colored vinyl set aside, and then the 2 Dynasty reissues, I've got them set aside. I just, I gotta build it up to pay for it, and then we'll get there. We'll get there. So, anyway, that's what I've got in over the last week. I don't think I've gotten anything else in. No. So, let's jump into Mike's top 10, so to speak. So, this first one, when I started collecting years ago, it was around 96, 97 is when I first started collecting vinyl. I mean, I was just a 15-year-old kid, and eBay was really, really, really new. And I just had what I could get my hands on, basically, the first couple of years, what I can get my hands on just locally, going around to flea markets and stuff like that. And then eBay come along right when I turned 17, 18 years old, and I was signed up on eBay real early on, and that made the world so much smaller when it come to finding stuff. But anyway, I collected from then up until about 2010 or so, and I decided to sell my Kiss collection off. I just kind of got bored with collecting Kiss vinyl, and I had collected a bunch of other vinyl and I was just running out of room, and I was bored with collecting Kiss, because at the time I wasn't in it nowhere near like I am now. I just had a copy of each album up to Creatures or something like that, and a few others afterwards, Unplugged, Revenge, and stuff like that. But anyway, I sold my collection off, and I went down other rabbit holes. I collected Maiden for years along with Kiss, and then after I sold off, I collected Metallica and Priest and all these other bands. And then it was right around the time they put out the Kissteria set, or started putting out advertisements for it, that I started kind of getting the itch to get Kiss vinyl again. So I started buying up Kiss vinyl, and this first one I'm going to show was real special to me, because my first time around, I just never could get a hold of it. This is actually one that I got burned by in the very early days of eBay. We're talking pre-PayPal days. I mean, this was days where you would go to the post office, buy a money order, send it off, and hope you had your shit in, a month later. But a seller in Japan had one listed, and I want to say it was around $200. And I was working by then. I was out of school, so I bought this thing. I went to the post office, got my money order, an international money order for Japan, and I sent it off. Never saw anything. So that kind of burned me, and I had a policy for a long time that I won't buy anything outside of the United States. Then PayPal come along and made life a lot better on eBay. But anyway, so I didn't have this my first time around collecting. So when I got back into Kiss collecting, this was one of the first pieces I bought, just because I never had it before. And that is the Originals 2, which we all know is a repackaging of Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun, and it's a Japanese only issue. So it has an obi and opens up into a big gatefold. And then with the goodies, we have just a picture booklet, and then in behind here I've got a lyric booklet. And then this is something else I kind of want to show. This Disc Keeper sleeve is actually double pocket. And this might be the way I go in the future with these. So it's just got a little divider in there, and then you've got two pockets. So yeah, it's got the lyric booklet. And then a picture booklet. And then we've got the 4 masks that you can cut out. So there's Paul, there's Gene, there's Peter, and Ace. So yeah, that was one of the first things I bought when I first got back into collecting, because that sounded a lot worse than it actually was. I've got a little table right below me here, so yeah, it did make it all the way to the floor. But yeah, that's that one's kind of near and dear to me, because that was something I always wanted when I was collecting the first time around, and being 18, 19 years old at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of money. I was working a job and just kind of starting out in life, so I didn't have a lot to set aside, and then yeah, getting burned on it. So yeah, that's still pretty high up on my my favorites there. All right, the next one is a more recent acquisition, and it is one that I had looked for very hard for a long time. So I got into record clubs after going to the Indie Expo in 2018, and one of the hardest ones to find is music from the Elder. So as you can see back here by the Polygram logo, there is a small CRC printed on the jacket. And I will tell you, this thing is very, very hard to find. So, couple of things you could look for. The track listing starts off with the Oath. Usually the jackets that have the Oath at the top, there'll be a red 0704 down here. So if you see the Oath and you don't see a red 0704, then look right off to the right of that Polygram logo and see if you can't see that little black CRC. So this one should have a lyric inner sleeve with it. When I found this one, mine was incomplete, and Tom, see if you can talk, Mike. Tom Daniels sent me an inner sleeve to finish it off. And then I have talked to several other people who have copies of this CRC issue. The label will have a 53 on the left-hand side next to where it says stereo in side A. It's got a little 53, and then there is a pretty unique matrix readout here in the dead wax. It's got some stuff stamped instead of scribbled, so sorry if I'm being a little too cryptic there, but I don't want to give people the complete readout so they can figure out how to fake it. So that's, and I'm not going to say any of these are in numerical order, like the Originals 2 is my absolute favorite, and then this is right behind it. This is just stuff I've thought of as I was pulling stuff out of the rack. Alright, I need to find my favorite 10 items. I like this one, I like this one, I like this one. That's how it came about. Alright, the next one is kind of special to me because I had joined a few collecting groups back in late 2014, early 2015. And then I just kept finding other collecting groups. Well, I stumbled across Kiss My Wax in, it was a little later on, I think, in 2015. And at the time, it was just a collecting group. There might have been a few episodes up of the podcast, but I hadn't been made aware of that yet. But my biggest thing was it was, people were selling stuff there, so that was stuff I could buy. So I didn't have the Kisteria set yet, but I had all of the vinyl that was not already available, like Psycho Circus, Carnival Souls, and stuff like that. But I didn't have Greatest Kiss. Well, lo and behold, somebody was selling Kisteria exclusive for Greatest Kiss. And I have had a copy or two pass through my hands since, so I can't sit here and tell you for sure 100% that this is the exact copy that I bought off of him. But, because later on I got the Kisteria box set, and then I had a damaged copy of Greatest Kiss, so they replaced it. And along the way, I had acquired if I can dig it out here, I had acquired a insert sheet separately and was able to add it to my copy. So yeah, at the time, this was the only title I did not have on vinyl that was available on vinyl. So, and that was my first purchase from a Facebook group that I was a part of for a long time, and had recently, within the last few years, become a part of again. So this one is a pretty special one to me. And then the next is a 2-for-1 kinda. So it took a little bit. I just wanted first pressings of everything. And, the podcast that I mentioned before, Kiss My Wax, kept talking about all of these different reissues and everything, which at first I wasn't really interested in. I wanted to hear about it, but I wasn't interested in getting them for myself. But then this one was showed, and this kind of changed the game for me a little bit. So this is a copy, if I can get it out of the sleeve here. This is a copy of Creatures of the Night, and it has a UPC sticker on the back. There's that little pink 501 up there in the corner. And it's got a Filmworks label. So soon as I saw that Filmworks label on Creatures of the Night, I wanted a copy of this. And this was from a series that was released between 1983 and 1984. And I started getting the whole series. Me and a few other buddies that I have made along the way, we all were working on getting the series. We would help each other out if we found one that, you know, we knew one of the other guys was needing. We would either trade or just throw it their way. So, and the 3 or 4 of us had all finished the series around the same time. Not to be braggy, but I think I was first, and then a couple of them were real close behind. But I say a 2 for 1 because there's actually 2 different variations. So they both have that same Filmworks label. But like I showed you before, this jacket has that pink 501 at the top. And then this jacket has a purple 206 down by the UPC sticker. That's impossible for me to show on the camera. So yeah, this is the one that got me into collecting reissues. So that's the special connection to me for that. And then another special connection, so to speak. So in those collecting groups, I don't think Kiss My Wax is where this all happened. I think it was another group, but some guy had posted this picture of a Creatures of the Night label that had the non-makeup cover, and then get it out here, and a Filmworks label. I had never seen anything like that before. Of course, I was pretty new to the reissues game. And I messaged the guy. I was like, hey, are you wanting to sell that? I'll buy it from you right now. He hawed around. Oh, I don't know. La, 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 la. I was like, if you decide to sell, let me know. I'll buy it from you. I go to bed the next morning. This fellow was just furious. Not the seller, but one of the admins from Kiss My Wax at the time. Furious. Apparently, this guy had listed it overnight on eBay, and Tom had bought it. The guy decided for what reason or another to cancel the sale, which is very annoying. I hate it when that stuff happens. So Tom vents about it on Facebook. Somebody pops up and says, hey, this guy showed this record somewhere, and this other guy had offered to buy it, you know. And that poster, he wasn't trying to make it sound like it, but the way it was worded was like I bought it out from underneath him, which was not the case. So I had gotten in touch with Tom and said, hey, the big misunderstanding, you know, all of your shit happened while I was asleep. All of my shit happened before any of this ever did. So, you know, we were good with that. and became friends, still friends to this day. But later on, I managed to get a hold of a copy. So it's got the non-makeup jacket. If you just see the jacket, there is nothing on here that sets it apart from one that has a Mercury label in it. It's got the same inner sleeve, and then it's got a different Filmworks label from the one that I just showed you with the makeup cover. And it's got the altered track listing that this one should have. So this was a deliberate issue. So whether it was just using up old Filmworks stock before they switched to putting it on the Mercury label, or whatever the case may be, not very many of these are around. So that's definitely one of my favorites in my collection. And then the next one, so like I said in the very beginning, I wanted first issues. I wasn't interested in record clubs. I wasn't interested in promos. I wasn't interested in 45s. Now I'm interested in all that shit. So this was one of the first promos that I got a hold of. And it is the first promo. So it's the first album with a pink promo sticker. And a white label on the record. I found this one fairly cheap compared to what it was going for at the time. And this, I might have had like maybe a couple of solo album promos before I got this. So I was kind of on the fence with buying promos, but once I got a hold of this one, I was head first in promos after that. So this really got me started down the road of collecting promos right here, and it's the first one. So the next up, we're going to stay with the debut. So we learned about the NB 9001 transition to Kissin' Time. And we learned that some copies have it on the label and on the vinyl. Some copies have it on the label and it's not on the vinyl. And then some copies don't have it on the label, but it is on the vinyl. So this one has the sticker up on the top corner promoting Kissin' Time, Strutter, and Nothing to Lose, which were the 3 singles at the time. And then the record itself, so if you look at side 2 here, notice it starts off with Deuce. If I pull it back and hit it just right with the light, if you look right below my eye here, count the track rings, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 tracks on this record. So Kissin' Time is on here. It's just not listed on the label. And for US copies, NB 9001, Kissin' Time was never printed on the back of the jacket. That didn't start until the catalog number changed to NBLP 7001. So yes, I looked hard for this one. I had this jacket set aside forever, waiting for a copy of it to pop up. So, and you know, these transitional copies can be found in jackets with or without that sticker there. So that's why I had this jacket set aside for so long, because I wanted to have that sticker with this record. And I have the other transitional copy. So, I have 9001 without Kissin' Time on the label or the vinyl. I've got it without it on the label, with it on the vinyl. I've got it with on the label, without on the vinyl, and then finally I have it on the label and on the vinyl. So, all right. So next up, we get another kind of a twofer. So this was something that was quite mythical to me when I was collecting the first time around. I had never seen one in person or on eBay. I wanted one. I had heard about it. I had seen pictures of it in various websites, but it's the error copy of Alive 2. So as you can see, there's Take Me listed, Hooligan is listed, and Do You Love Me is listed. None of those three songs are on the record. Never were. I'd always heard about it and seen pictures of it my first time around, but I never had a chance to get one. So when I started collecting back up, this was high on my list of stuff to find, and it took me several years to finally get one. And I'm saying it's a twofer because there's two different ones of them, and it's all in the gatefold. So let me find it here. Alright. This column right here in the center of your screen, if you look, there are 6 publishing credits. Okay? It's kind of a tough one for me to hold up. And then the next one again, we've got Take Me, Hooligan, Do You Love Me. And then the publishing credits in the center of your screen again. You'll see it has 7 of them this time. And just about every copy I've ever seen has had some kind of rash inside the gatefold. It's just, they had printed so many copies of Alive 2 up, I swear they didn't even wait for the ink to dry to close these things up. So yeah, these were, I didn't know about both variations at first. I finally got one and then learned of the other, and I stumbled across the other. But at this time, I've probably had, 5 copies go through my hands now. So it's, I wouldn't have believed back when I first started collecting again that I would have had that many copies come across my possession. So that's a pretty near and dear one to me. And then the next one is something that I looked for pretty feverishly to start, and then I got to a point to where I almost couldn't keep from tripping over them. It's the Dynasty straight jacket copy. They're not wearing straight jackets in this picture. They're wearing white t-shirts. The only thing is, the t-shirts didn't get airbrushed out on some of these covers, as you can see here between Paul and Ace, and then over here alongside Peter. So in the beginning, when this was first discovered, I looked hard for it. I couldn't find it. And then something happened to where I was just finding them left and right. Uh, Found one for several people that I know. Upgraded mine a couple of times. I've even had a couple of sealed copies over the years. But yeah, this one's it's still kind of hard to find, but I don't think it's as hard to find as we initially thought it was. I've had 7 or 8 copies now, so I mean, it it can't be like really super hard to find if I've had that many. But yeah, the straight jacket copy of Dynasty. And then the last one is really special to me because this was the last promo copy that I needed as far as titles, having one of each title. We're not talking about all the variations of promos. I just needed this one to have one of every title. I looked hard for a couple of years and eventually stumbled into one. It's hotter than hell. Harder than hell to come across. So, it's got a little cut on the corner right there. And then the label on the vinyl. It's kind of hard to see. There we go. Underneath Bogart there, it says promotion. And then above side 1, it says not for sale. So that is my top 10, my favorite pieces that I have in my collection. And I'm sure if I was to walk in here tomorrow and decide I want to do a top 10, a few of these pieces might be different, but at the time I picked these out, these were my favorite 10. So, and with that, I do my normal sign off and tell you how I appreciate you hanging in there and everything, and I will catch you on the next one.